Hey guys, welcome back to Prepping in Progress. Thanks for joining us. Remember to do the whole like, share, and subscribe thing. Today we're going to be talking about weatherproofing the outside of your windows as you're building your place, and prepper community and choosing people. We're just going to wander all over and do a little bit of talk about what's coming, and why we need to choose certain people and use discernment in choosing who we ally ourselves with and who our prepper community is. So stay with me. Hey guys, welcome back to Prepping in Progress. So we're still working on the place. We're still got the caulk gun out because we're still weatherproofing. Funny thing about all this, they did a great job building, but they did not, like we said earlier, weather seal everything. And I'm taking the weather seal a little more seriously than some people would, because we're going to be in this thing filming, entertaining guests, the whole 9 yards. Summer, spring, and winter, which means rain, sleet, or shine, or snow. I'm also noticing a few other things as we go along, such as the wasps that have been coming in and out. I'll show you in a minute, but at the very edge of the building, on each end, there's a little gap in the tin, and that's how they're getting in. So we're going to have to spray that down and seal that to make sure unwanted guests stop dropping by to stay. I'm pretty sure the windows are actually pretty solid and sealed already from the inside, but I happen to notice there's a gap right here in the combing, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have the proper term for you, but there's a gap right there, and if the rain's coming down, it can wash down in here, get in here, come in and ruin the wood. And thank you, no, I prefer not to have that. I love this place. I love getting it going. I'm enjoying the project. I'm enjoying learning how to do all this stuff. That was one of the things with being a stay-at-home dad for years, working from the house. I got to do a lot of the projects, and I got to learn a lot of new skills. But I do wish in my teens I'd spent more time doing construction outside of bricklaying, because I don't see a nitty-bitty bit of brick on this thing. But what we're using here on the outside is the clear silicone. It's not quite as clear as I would like, but it's not that completely, totally white stuff like right here that's going to detract from the view of the outside. And eventually the plan is that up here on either side of the windows are going to be carriage lights and all kinds of neat stuff. I eventually maybe am going to put a awning right here so that, you know, in the evening I can sit out, have a beverage, relax, watch the stars, wait for the satellites to come in and start doing their elliptical paths around, and watch the fireworks, or whatever happens. We're living in interesting times, aren't we, guys? You know, I've been around a while. I've been around long enough to see gas prices fluctuate before. I've been along the road and watched how the economy seems to spin up, down, up, down. And it's where one group can blame the other group for increased prices. Then the other group can say, well, we fixed this. And back and forth, and back and forth. When are things going to stabilize? Are they going to stabilize? I don't know. What I do know is we need to get our buildings finished. We need to get out of debt as quickly as possible. Get it to where we can be as self-sufficient as possible. I started playing with some plants last year, actually 2 years ago when we were still in Mina, in that area, and not all of them survived the trip. So I'm having to start the herb garden all over again, having to figure out what we are going to do. You know, some of you know we've got the parental units retiring and moving nearby. So I've got to plan a garden for them. I've got to help them out as much as possible. The good news is that my father used to run an excellent garden throughout the summer. He'd go to work, come home, work on his garden. Really appreciated that about him. That he would always take the time to help, take the time to be a part of the family. You know, he wasn't one of these people who went to work, came home and said, oh, I'm too tired to be a part of the family. You know, and on weekends, when he wasn't grading papers, he was always helping out around the house. I did the lawn mowing, but he would be right there out in the garden, working with the flower beds in front. So I'm looking forward to having him nearby to help with food production. That's a godsend, a gift. Having family who is on board with the mindset. You know, this is a lifestyle. And I remember one set of comments going, Well, when I quit prepping, I had peace of mind. Well, dude, glad you found peace. Really, seriously. Not being sarcastic at all. If that's what brings you peace, dude. See, for me, this is a prep right here. I am preparing the roof over my head. I am building the roof over my head. For me, this is amazing. You know, we have Gerard who is doing gardens and whatnot in town. He is trying to get his food situation set up so that he doesn't have to go to the store as often. He has his bug out plan. He'll share what he wants to about that. But he's also setting it up so that his neighbors and he can maybe make things go along the road together. You know, he's networking with his neighbors. He knows which of his neighbors are ex-military like him. You know, that's pretty cool. Me, I've got the hippie down the road, and he's not a selfless communal hippie, let's just say that. He's more of a, you stay off my land and I'm not going to help you and I don't want to be near you type of hippie. Doesn't really like animals that much either. But you know, it takes all kinds, it really does. And as long as you know who your neighbors are and what they're like, cool. We talk about community, we talk about family. Having mom and pa nearby is a good thing for me. My mother and I are very much alike, and sometimes our personalities clash. But as we have spent more time together, we have been able to work on some of that, which has been good because once I moved to Arkansas, I saw them on Memorial Day and Thanksgiving. It was kind of fun because they would do everything they could to make the holiday special, and I would too. We'd meet together, we would commune. You know, and I would cook for my parents. But then again, my mother would turn around and say, I've got this meal. And, you know, every grown man is a little boy inside. And when mommy breaks out the biscuits and gravy, oh, 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 and her special mashed potatoes, and other dishes that she made when you were a child, it just melts in your mouth. And those are the moments we remember. Yeah, I remember a dish I may have to ask her to make. My mother would make what is called tabbouleh. And I remember that it was some kind of grain. It was very, almost like millet. And as a child, I hated it. I hated it. Now, why did I hate it? It was heavy on the lemon juice. And it always had a bitter taste. I'm looking forward to going over to their place and saying, hey, could you make tabbouleh at some point? I would love to have it again. And watching my mom's eyes light up, because she loved it. I admit it. Like I've said, it wasn't my favorite, but I want to try it again. Now, where was I going with all this? With anecdotes about my family, community. So many people are thinking about their bug out community, their bug out team. Okay. I'm on board. I have people that would be more than welcome to pull up a trailer. I don't have pre-staged homes for them, cabins for them. But there are the people on the list who know that they're welcome. Eventually I'm going to expand. Eventually I'm going to hopefully have the ability, not just here, but on the parents' place and whatnot, to have the community that I want, the friends and like-minded individuals. And religion is a big part of that. People who believe the way you do, people who get it. But that's not the only thing. You don't let someone in just because they believe like you do. You don't let someone in just because they have the skills that you're looking for. You don't let someone in just because they have a personality or a family tie anymore. That sounds bad. It really does. But I don't know what would happen if you let just everyone and anyone in. Do you let everyone and anyone come visit? Do you allow family members that you haven't seen in 20 years just show up and move in? Just show up for a visit. Hey, we're in town. You're in town, that's great. Didn't know that 72 hours ago, and we made plans. Now, some family members, you make the exception and you go, hey, it's good to see you. Others, maybe not. That's on you and your relationship with your family. Me, I don't know. I disowned a best friend that I called a brother about 10 years ago. We don't associate anymore. So you've got to pick and choose. Pick and choose how you're going to build your community. Building a community is probably one of the most important things you're going to do in this lifestyle. Who is great temporarily versus being around that person day in and day out. And let's take some hits on me. Last couple of years of Miss Kim and me, I became a very negative person. I felt that I wasn't being listened to. I felt that, my concerns were not being addressed. I begged for marriage counseling. That didn't happen. And that put me in a bad headspace, a very negative headspace. And to give Miss Kim some credit, there's your version, there's my version, and then there's somewhere in the middle lies the truth, and we just couldn't bring ourselves together. But because of that headspace and that negativity and that switch being thrown in my brain, I'm sure there are people that I associated with in the prepper community who would go, you know, Steve's a great guy, but I don't know if I could live with him 24/7. He's one of the most negative people I know. Which I'm really not. You know, for the most part, I try to look forward and I try to be a positive person, even when I'm exhausted. You know, you've seen some of the stuff about, you know, the burnout episode. You know, maybe I'll try to link to that in the comment section, or I'll put a tag up above in one of the corners. You know, I can see how a person's mental state right here and right now, and yeah, I'm just wiping the silicone on the door jamb. That's going to be covered later. But a person's current mental state does not necessarily reflect their later mental state or their average mental state. So, I mean, you've got to use discernment when you're planning your community, looking at who you want to bring in. You know, I'm grateful that several of my neighbors in the area around here are on board. They may not have the same religious beliefs as me, but they're on board with, there are some issues with the world, there are some issues with, how do I say this without getting into trouble? Leadership, for lack of a better term. Yeah. You know, that's something else. You know, someone may not agree with the word choice you use. Recently, I was on a Christian prepping group, you know, on Facebook, just, you know, chatting, talking, you know. Some of the things that I get on there, I'll use as food for thought to bring to you. In fact, how does being a Christian affect your prepping? Was, I believe, a question that came up on this group. You know, and there were the people saying, well, I have no fear. You know, I know the end of the story. You know, I take direction from that book, etc. You know, here I am trying to address the answer to the heart of the question, the heart of the matter. And I use the word leaders, our leaders. Well, the next thing I know, you're wrong, they're not our leaders, comes into in my comment section. I'm like, dude, you know, I agree, but you know, we're trying to address this issue here. Can we just, it's people like you and that verbiage that is put us in the state that we are today, and we're headed to a communist country, da 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 da. Okay, I see where you're coming from. But you know, the question was, how does your Christianity affect your prepping? And you know, by the way, I know there's someone who's going to be out there going, hey, where are your zeets? Dude, yeah, I'm not wearing them right now. Absolutely. I pulled these out of the trash bag of clothes that I have to get dressed to come out and play with silicone. I really don't want the silicone on them. So, yeah. Just because there's one person who sometimes comments that, hey, where are they? And sometimes they're tied, but they're tucked into the pants. But anyway, the comments on that post, and this guy going, pew! I won't be commenting on anything in that group again. Not because it was uncalled for, not because it was mean or out of line, but just because I choose not to associate with that thought process and someone who feels they have to correct you on the iota when you're trying to make a bigger statement. Yeah, I mean, here, drink the water, don't put bleach in it. Okay, that's a problem. A couple little drops of bleach, yeah, they purify the water. Okay, I get it. Iota, small things, yes, we need them. But when you are trying to answer a philosophical question and explain how multiple facets affect the same thing in your life, issues. I'm not there to start a fight. I'm not getting on YouTube and talking about prepping and being prepared, not just for a natural disaster, but what if the economy collapses? What if the company you work for suddenly folds? What if you get divorced and suddenly you're splitting the gear? We're not doing this to start problems. We're not doing this to pick fights. We're honestly trying to look toward the future. We're honestly trying to make a cohesive whole so that we can provide not just for ourselves, but for our parents and our children, our significant others. We're trying to move forward. We're trying to keep things together for the future. I see all kinds of things, and I hear all kinds of things. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Arkansas. You got hillbillies who are ready for Civil War 2.0. Okay. Do you mind if I stay at home and feed my family? How are you going to feed your family when you're away? Food, water, shelter. Those things to me are more important than picking a fight. So, we're talking community here. Community. Working together. I remember when you'd have a tornado and everyone would come from miles around just to help out. That was community. Your volunteer fire department, these guys are not paid to do it. They show up because of community. So, while I'm going to keep siliconing and whatnot, I got to change out the tube. I want you guys to think not only when you're building your house, you got to weatherproof the outside and the inside so the water doesn't come in, but who you going to call if you need help? Who's part of your community? Who are you building for a future with? What is your plan? So today, give your community some thought. Give the people you associate with some thought. Who would you depend on beyond all shadow of a doubt, and who wouldn't you? And stay with us. It's going to get fun.